How do you make a good video game character? I'm not talking about photoscanning an actor's likeness or designing their moveset. That's a part of it, but right now I'm talking about the person you're playing, the character that you're guiding through the most defining moments of their life. There's no simple answer to that. There's not even really a right answer. We all resonate with different things, and how characters speak to us is different too. But there's a few things we did that we think helped us get closer to that right answer. So let's talk about those things. This is Myrkur Games. We are a small game development studio in Reykjavik, Iceland, and we are working on our first ever video game, Echoes of the End. A warrior with magical abilities. That was the thing we knew about Rin before we knew anything else. That was the game we wanted to make. Before she was a person, she was, well, a warrior with magical abilities. Over time, that description evolved. She wasn't just a warrior, she was a ranger on a solitary posting, expected to be able to fend for herself in the dangerous wilderness. She didn't just have magical abilities, she was a vestige, born with an affinity for destructive magic that most people feared and shunned. Her solitary posting became less about faith in her abilities and more an expression of the fear her people felt for her. We knew she had to have a family, too. We decided her mother had died and her childhood had been defined by a relationship with her father, a terse, challenging relationship that helped shape her both as a fighter and as a vestige. But even then, she wasn't a person. For that, we were going to need an actor.
Receiving the character of Rin, just right at the beginning, I don't think there was anything I didn't love about her. There were aspects of her personality that I related to. I could kind of tell that there were similarities between us. I think I just had a very clear understanding of how she became the way she was, for better or for worse, because I could kind of relate, I guess. Her ability to disassociate from her surroundings and just focus on the task at hand. Her willingness to follow orders, which is, I mean, in certain scenarios, that's a huge plus for a person, but in her situation, it's definitely taken away a lot of her independent thinking. And then I think at the core, when all the chips are down, she will do anything for the people she loves. And that's not clear perhaps to herself. For me, the most helpful thing when I get to know a character is, of course, reading the script and their responses and reactions to whatever's going on. But I also am just inherently curious about why people do the things they do and how people tick. I was writing a crime series and I'd been listening to a lot of podcasts about really damaged people. And I'm not saying Rin are those people. And I mean, there are certain things you kind of have to go through in your mind to be able to take a life, I believe. So maybe because of that, when I read the script and I studied the character, there were some things that I kind of understood why you might do the things you do.
With Aldís, we immediately knew we found our Rin, but you need more than one character to build a story. Let's start with Abram Finley, the game's main companion. Abram has been around since the earliest versions of our script. We knew we wanted a mentor-type character, someone who could hold his own in a fight, but could also be a parental figure, a counterpoint to Rin's relationship with her own father. Like Rin's father, Abram is a scholar fascinated by the history of Amah and Rin's connection to it as a vestige. But where the former was distant and often cold, Abram is warm and understanding, even funny.
You're pretty spry for an old man.
Oh, don't use that word.
What? Old?
No, spry. No young man has ever been called spry.
And we couldn't have asked for a better actor to play that role than Karl Gustafsson. A veritable national treasure, Karl has been a defining part of the Icelandic cultural world for decades. From translating The Hobbit and being the Icelandic voice of Pumbaa and Rafiki, to writing and starring in a weekly comedy show for 25 years that, at its peak, had a viewership share of 68% of the country's entire population. You could look out the window every Saturday evening and it would be like 28 days later out there. The beginning, not the zombie part. Throughout the game's story, Abram plays a crucial role in shaping Rin as a character. With his calm acceptance and kind humor, he challenges her preconceptions of her world. But that's only a part of what a supporting character has to do. They have to lay the groundwork for where those preconceptions come from.
Rin is emotionally rejected by her father and is thrust into this environment that's very hostile towards children, I would say. this army environment or vestige environment, which I can imagine forces her to disassociate quite heavily from her childhood and upbringing, which is of course one of the biggest thorns in her side when it comes to her brother, who has a completely different upbringing, but with, you know, the same parent. I could connect in a way with the disassociation part, and I think many people can. I hope people keep that in mind when they're playing as Rin and when she's being a bit standoffish towards her very nice younger brother, because they just had a very different childhood, brutally different.
Kor is Rin's younger half-brother. Bold and carefree, he never shared her difficult relationship with her father or her outright hostile relationship with Kor's mother. He adores Rin, but their relationship is strained by these different experiences. In the game's opening, their father's recent death has pushed Kor into Rin's care, and we see her struggle to adapt to this new role, to provide Kor with the sort of guidance their dad provided her, even as he rebels against it. Davíð Þór Katrínason absolutely nails this. With shows like True Detective and Trapped under his belt, he brings an air of excited joy to the role, without losing the core of vulnerability and the need to prove himself to his sister. Plus, he and Aldís are actually cousins, so the family connection's already there to build on. That's two supporting characters then, one to establish the basis of the protagonist's world, and another to challenge it. But across so many stories, we all know that more often than not, the biggest force in shaping a protagonist is their opposite, the antagonist.
Come on, Vestige. Dance with me.
Enter Zara, a vestige like Rin, born with that same ability to cause havoc and destruction. But unlike Rin, Zara did not grow up being taught to restrain her power. Instead, she learned to embrace it, to become a deadly weapon, bent on breaking the world that feared her and others like her. Where Abram challenges Rin's preconceptions, Zara justifies them. She is everything Rin was taught to fear she might become, and she revels in it. Solveig Eva was a revelation to us. Originally auditioning for a smaller part, the role of Zara was practically created around her. She swings from gleeful madness to raw fury in the blink of an eye. And honestly, it's every bit as unnerving when you see it in person, especially coming from one of the nicest, most welcoming people on set. And that's kind of the last secret ingredient. Being on set together, seeing the actors interact, the chemistry between them in the room. I honestly don't know whether Aldís and Karl or Rin and Abram are a better duo. And it doesn't really matter, because one becomes the other as they bring those characters to life. We all have our part in the process, writer, actor, director, we all play our role, whether that's creating the scene, laying the groundwork for it, interpreting it into actions and emotions, or just making sure those aspects come together in harmony rather than conflict. And that's not to mention every other aspect of game development. I skimmed over it earlier, and you might not think something like level design affects characters too much, but you might be surprised. A beautiful vista or a broken statue can become the spark for a dialogue that explores something new about a character, something none of us knew before seeing it. It is about collaboration and adaptation, and I for one think that's a beautiful thing. That's it for now. If you think this game looks cool, you can add it to your Steam wishlist by clicking the first link in the description below. If you haven't seen our trailer, click on this video here, and if you're curious to learn more about how the game plays, and you want to see the combat in action, click on this video here. If you've seen both and you want to see more, then subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we upload new videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in Amah.